All right, guys, so we got to talk about a very, very, very important case involving the First Amendment, which the Democrats are desperately trying to repeal. That and the Second Amendment, right? They want to repeal the first two amendments of the Constitution. They already told us they're not absolute, okay? Those amendments are not absolute. We want to get rid of them because we don't believe in them, okay? Being a Democrat is literally anti-American. But with that being said, again, we got to talk about a First Amendment case here involving an ex-Virginia Tech soccer player who allegedly was benched for refusing to kneel for BLM and social justice during a unity statement before the game. And now she's suing the coach because she's claiming that the coach retaliated against her by basically berating her at halftime and then reducing her playing time in response to her refusing to kneel, literally refusing to bend the knee for BLM. So I want to talk about this because, again, this has a lot of implications for the First Amendment. But before I get into it, I want to go ahead and play a news clip so you guys can get a more clear understanding of what's going on here. Take a look.
New at 11, separate federal lawsuits have been filed by a former UVA student and a former Virginia Tech soccer player. Both claim they were retaliated against after exercising their rights to free speech. Our Tracy Sears has the story.
At James River High School, Kirsten Henning was a standout soccer player. The Midlothian native went on to shine at Virginia Tech, where she walked onto the women's soccer team in 2018 and started 37 matches in her first 2 seasons at the university. But according to a federal lawsuit filed on March 3rd, Henning says this season she was benched and eventually forced off the team for refusing to kneel before games during the fall season. Henning filed the lawsuit against her former coach, Chugger Adair, claiming he engaged in a campaign of abuse and retaliation that caused her to leave the program. In the wake of social justice and the Black Lives Matter movements, several students have taken a knee before games in a show of support. Henning's lawsuit claims she supports social justice but doesn't support the BLM organization.
All right, so again, this lawsuit is being allowed to proceed by a judge, okay, which could indicate that, hey, you know, this girl has a case, okay, that her First Amendment rights were violated. So let's read here. A judge recently ruled that a former Virginia Tech women's soccer player can continue a lawsuit against her former coach after she was allegedly benched and pressured to leave for declining to kneel during a pregame social justice demonstration. Kirsten Henning, who was a midfielder / defender for the Hokies from 2018 to 2020, sued coach Charles Chugger Adair in 2021 on First Amendment grounds, which federal judge Thomas Cullen announced on December 2nd can proceed to trial. Henning alleged that Adair was not a fan of her political views and that she often differed from her teammates on social justice issues during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. Henning further explained in the lawsuit that while she, quote, supports social justice and believes that Black Lives Matter, she does not support BLM, the organization, citing its tactics and core tenets on its mission statement, including defunding the police. And I'm pretty sure wanting to dismantle the nuclear family is up there as well, too, right? We all know that BLM is a Marxist organization with Marxist goals, even though the people running the organization are definitely capitalists, right? They love making money, okay? Millionaires. Yeah, the organization and their stated goals are literally the opposite of what black people or so-called minorities need. After Henning declined to kneel during a reading of a unity statement before a game against UVA on September 12, 2020, she said Adair verbally attacked her at halftime, claiming she was being and moaning while jabbing a finger in her face. Yeah, so a couple things here, right? One, it's ridiculous that they're reading a unity statement, okay, during a game. Why are you doing that? Doesn't make sense. You should just do the anthem and keep it moving, okay? But she's alleging that her coach verbally attacked her at halftime and claimed that she was being and moaning while jabbing a finger in her face. So I wonder, does that mean if he actually touched her, right? Did he actually like put his finger in her face, like touch her face like that? But basically, again, the crux of her claim here is that again, this is all circumstantial to prove that this was retaliation for kneeling. The coach continued to berate Henning until he benched her and ultimately made things so intolerable that she felt compelled to quit the team, according to the suit. Henning, who had been a major on-field contributor for 2 years prior to the 2020 season, also asserts that Adair removed her from the starting lineup for the next 2 games and drastically reduced her playing time in those games because she had engaged in this protected First Amendment activity. As a result, Henning resigned from the team after the 3rd game of the season, Cullen noted in his recent ruling. Henning's time on the field dropped off following the incident, the judge noted. Quote, as a freshman, Henning averaged 76 minutes of playing time. As a sophomore, nearly 88, Cullen wrote. But during the Clemson game, the next game after the kneeling incident, Henning only played 29 minutes. And at the UNC game, just 5 minutes. Yeah, so it went from 76 minutes as a freshman and then 88 as a sophomore. And then all of a sudden, as a junior, she goes down to 29 minutes and then 5 minutes. Again, I don't think that is just because she was playing poorly, okay? As you tend to get older, right, in college, you tend to get better. You don't get worse. And you don't definitely get worse to the point where you're only playing like literally less than half the minutes that you used to play, okay? I mean, she basically got sent to the bench. Now, the coach is saying that, hey, you know, she did have a First Amendment right to not kneel, but that was not retaliation, okay? That he did not retaliate against her because of the fact that she refused to kneel. He's saying that this happened, that her playing time was reduced because of her poor play, right? Well, she was just playing poorly. Okay, this is what he's saying. Adair, who argued that the 2 other players who declined to kneel did not face reduced playing time, moved to dismiss the lawsuit, which was denied. Ultimately, Adair may convince a jury that his coaching decision was based solely on Henning's poor play during the UVA game, but the court, viewing the evidence in the light most favorable to Henning, cannot reach that conclusion as a matter of law, ruled Cullen, who said the issues in the case are fundamental. Quote, while the U.S. Supreme Court in the Fourth Circuit may not have addressed the novel factual circumstances presented here, a college coach allegedly retaliating against a player for refusing to kneel with her coaches and teammates in support of perceived unity and social justice. The core constitutional principle is both clearly established and fundamental to a free society, and especially to an institution of higher education, Cullen wrote. Yeah, so basically, the judge is saying that as a matter of law, we can't say that the coach did this simply because she was playing poorly, right? We can't come to that conclusion. So it needs to go to trial. Now, in order for this young woman to win, she got to do 3 things, right? In order to prove her case here, she must put forth sufficient evidence that 1, she engaged in protected First Amendment activity, aka she refused to kneel. Okay, she clearly did that. 2, that her coach, Adair, took some action that adversely affected her First Amendment rights. Now, this would be him getting in her face or reducing her playing time. That action, you have to argue, would basically deter her from actually exercising her First Amendment rights. Okay, and then thirdly, she would have to have evidence that there was a causal relationship between her protected activity and Adair's actions. Basically, she had to say that, well, because I refused to kneel, this is why he did this, okay? That this would not have happened had I kneeled. I would have kept my playing time. He would not have got in my face. Like, I would not have been forced off the team or pressured to quit the team had I simply kneeled, bent the knee. Right. So those are the 3 things that she's going to have to provide evidence for to prove her claim. But at the very least, it seems like the courts are saying that they can't come to the conclusion that he didn't retaliate. Right. So again, it's going to be up to a jury in regards to what the outcome of this is going to be. But to me, if I was a betting man, I would have to guess, just based off what I've been reading, that this definitely was a situation of retaliation. I mean, there are photographs out there. There's actual picture evidence of the guy like looking at her while she is standing. Okay, so she's standing and he's looking at her. So he was aware of her actions. Now, he's saying that he wasn't aware of her actions, right? He's saying that I didn't know about her actions to the end of the game, right? I had no clue, right? That's a part of his defense. But that is also, it seems like that's not true as well. So we'll have to see. But, in situations like this, I think people got to understand, people's First Amendment rights, it is their right to not bend the knee to the mob, right? If they don't want to kneel for the national anthem, again, you're talking about playing for a school, a publicly funded school, you don't have to do that, and you shouldn't be punished for that. And that same thing goes for vice versa. If somebody says, hey, I don't want to stand for the national anthem, I want to kneel, right, to exercise my right, even though I may disagree with it, even though I may think it's disrespectful, they can still do that, and they shouldn't be punished for it because they have that First Amendment right. And I think that this case right here is a good example of kind of what the First Amendment actually means and what people are allowed to do and what they aren't allowed to do when it comes to expressing their freedom of speech. So I hope that this woman's case, if she can prove that this retaliation, I hope that she can win and she can sufficiently get paid back for, I guess, the damages that were done to her as a result of her First Amendment freedom of speech. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.